Hey folks, my name is Krishna, and in this video we're going to take a look at adding some atmospheric effects to our digital painting. This is the third video in a three-part series where I build a background from scratch using the lasso tool. So if you haven't already watched the other two parts, I'll go ahead and put a link to those in the description. Check them out. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to first of all start out by making a brand new layer. This layer is going to be above all of the other existing layers that we have. And what I recommend is if you use your brush tool, there is a soft round pressure opacity brush that you can choose. And what I typically do is, and I've already got this brush saved out, but this brush is really, really nice. And it works great when you make it really large for this technique that I'm about to show you. So we're making a new layer. We're going to set that layer to screen. When we do that, we'll pick a warm value. In this particular case, because I have a lot of purples and blues and colors like that, I'm going to pick something that's kind of reddish to give it a little bit of extra, warmth. So I'll come back in and I'm just painting this value. You can see that it adds this hint of light that's hitting. This is what it looks like before. This is what it looks like after. It gives a little bit of warmth into the scene. We might also see some of that coming through on the side of this tree over here. And you can kind of add that to taste. You can experiment with different color values. Try warm color values with the screen and a large soft round brush. That I think is a good place to start. And then we want to also direct the focus towards this little shed over here. So the next effect here is I'm going to set the layer to multiply, and I'm going to pick a cool color. And I have a lot of purples here. So I'm going to pick a dark purple, not super dark, not black dark, but just somewhere that kind of leans heavily towards dark. And with that same soft round pressure opacity brush, I'm just going to come back in and add a little subtle painting like this. And what this is going to do is this is going to pull the viewer in towards the center of the composition, towards the focal point. Again, this is what it looks like before. This is what it looks like after. And I can always use the hue saturation tool and I can adjust the lightness or darkness to taste. I can also potentially also drop the opacity if I need to. So that's two quick techniques that you can use to add some atmospheric effects to your painting. The last thing I want to show you here is something that's pretty cool. It involves using a depth of field type effect. And in order to pull this off, what we're going to do is we're going to first of all make a brand new layer, and then we're going to merge all of the visible layers. Now there's a really cool keyboard shortcut. The Mac keyboard shortcut is Shift Option Command E. On the PC, it's Shift Alt Control E. And what that does is it merges all your visible layers into one layer. So it preserves your layer stack if you want to go back and make modifications, but it also gives you something that you can work with, a flattened file. And you need to flatten the file, or at least flatten all of your visible layers into one layer in order for this next technique to work. So we're going to go up to Filter. We're going to go to Blur Gallery, and we're going to choose Iris Blur. When we choose Iris Blur, you're going to see this circle that appears around your composition. And if you look really closely, if I zoom in here, you can see that the areas that are just outside of the circle are blurred. So there's a few things that we need to know about this. You can settle with a circular lens here, and I can go ahead and make it circular. I can make it more like an oval, or I can make it more square. And in this case, I'm going to make it more square. And you'll notice too that you have the ability of rotating this. You can extend this as much as you want. And what I like to do is kind of mimic that, soft blur. I don't want the blur to be too pronounced. If I need to adjust that blur, there's an inner ring over here that I can use. I can just go ahead and either increase the blur. You can see the effects of that. It's a little bit too much. It looks a little bit obvious. I prefer it to be a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to use a blur of about maybe, say, 15, 16, 17, something in that range. And I want the sign to also be in focus. I can always move the center of this area right here. And what that will allow me to do is it allows me to give this nice soft depth of field. Now, what do these dots over here do on these corners? Well, this controls the transition from crisp to blurry. So watch, if I bring this in, what that's doing is it's kind of, reducing the transition. I can also increase the transition like so. So you can play with that to taste and see what works best for you. I think the default values are pretty good for starting. And then once you're done, you can click OK to commit your changes. And there you go. You have a finished painting here that has that atmospheric effect and also has an iris blur, and it looks like something that might appear in a cartoon. Well, if you found this tip to be useful, I would definitely appreciate a thumbs up. Leave me a comment if you've tried these techniques out, and let me know what you'd like to see next. I'm thinking about doing something related to superheroes, because I love superheroes, but you let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already considered subscribing to the channel, please consider doing so. Every subscription and every like and every comment really helps more people discover this channel. And that's the goal. I want to help as many people as possible level up their digital art game. So as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.